Some people use a brush just to paint pictures, but some can change the way people think with a brush. Bob Ross was exactly that kind of person. Many people who watched him on television thought the same thing. It was as if he painted the same picture in every episode. He would sit down at his easel, pick up his brush, make a few soft strokes, a few trees, a mountain in the distance, a small cabin, and a river flowing by. Everything was calm, everything was familiar. That's why years ago, many art critics didn't take Bob Ross seriously. To them, he was just a television painter who drew simple landscapes. Some even said that his paintings weren't real art, but there was something the critics didn't understand. Bob Ross wasn't just showing people paintings, he was teaching them a perspective. Yes, throughout the program, he drew mountains hundreds of times, drew trees, drew lakes, and he did this for a full 400 episodes. But for him, the point was never to repeat the same landscape. For him, the point was to show people this: there is no such thing as a mistake in life. One of Bob Ross's most famous sayings was, "Happy accidents." Even if a brushstroke went wrong, he wouldn't erase it. He would turn it into a new tree, a new cloud, or a new shadow. Because to him, art wasn't about perfection. Art was about being able to continue. Perhaps that's why millions of people felt at peace while watching Bob Ross. His calm voice, slow movements, and love for nature reminded people of something they had long forgotten. Life doesn't have to be that complicated. But one of Bob Ross's most powerful messages came to light through a small incident one day. During an event, a man approached him from the crowd. The man's voice was a little shy, a little sad. He said to Bob Ross, "I'd like to paint too, but I'm colorblind. I can't see the world the way you see it. I can only distinguish shades of gray. That's why I never believed I could create anything beautiful." Bob Ross looked closely at the man's face at that moment, because in those words, there was not just a deficiency, but years of accumulated despair. And that day, he made a decision. He would prepare an episode of his television program in a completely different way. He usually loved using vibrant colors, bright greens, deep blues, warm oranges, but this time he put only 3 colors on his palette: black, white, and gray. He named it this special episode about the shades of gray. When you looked at the canvas that day, you didn't see a colorful landscape, but there was something interesting. Bob Ross could create mountains, trees, and lakes using only shades of gray. He used light and shadows so skillfully that the painting looked vivid even without colors. Each brushstroke was actually a silent answer to that man. Because according to Bob Ross, it wasn't about seeing colors, it was about how you looked at the world and what you carried in your heart. And that day, Bob Ross painted all the colors of life into the heart of a man who saw the world in shades of gray. That's why Bob Ross never actually painted the same picture twice. In each episode, he left people with something small but very meaningful.